But again, we remain with these expectations of old models that we think should still continue to serve us. Old models of how the state should support entrepreneurship. And during Small Business Week, I saw some of these discussions and I wondered whether we are learning in this country, whether we are open to progress and to understanding that there's a different way to do things. Now, there's this notion that has been discussed that if Barbados gets into a new IMF program, there's going to be underinvestment in critical sectors of the country, like small business. And I think that sometimes we like to create fear and conjecture rather than really sit down and look at what are the risks, if any. So there's this conversation and this notion that there's going to be underinvestment in critical sectors like small business because of a renewed IMF program. Now, let me first address the IMF part and I'll get to the other part in a couple seconds. I don't hold the International Monetary Fund as any savior of developing nations. I don't. The fund is not perfect. There are many things that it has to address. Just this week I was talking to some colleagues about the issue of IMF surcharges and the fact that because the fund sometimes charges very, very highly indebted countries extra interest to pay back is a bit counterintuitive. So the fund is by no means perfect. But I want to remind us of 2018, of an economic team, of a minister of finance, of a prime minister, who when the fund was coming to engage us, said, before you come here, we have some things to do for the people of Barbados. Before you come here, we have to be able to provide more for pensioners. Before you come here, we have to be able to increase the welfare benefit and welfare coverage. Before you come here, we have to reinstitute free tertiary education for all Barbadians in this country. Governance is about priorities. And there is no way that a country and a political party like the Barbados, of a party that is serious about governance, is going to sacrifice workers and ordinary Barbadians on the altar of the IMF. We did not do it in 2018, and we will not do it now. So rather than all the fear-mongering, I think we need to have another conversation about entrepreneurship in Barbados. Because all of this fear-mongering about what it will mean if there is a new fund program, and don't get me wrong, you've got to be careful about what the new fund program looks like. We have to understand that if we borrow, that borrowing, that money that we borrow has to be productive. It has to be invested in things that are going to give us a return. But I think we also have to have a different look at the MSME sector in this country. Now, we have a model right now where the state, where the government invests wholly in small business development through subventions to institutions, by establishing a trust loan program that has been doing very well, through the expansion of fund access services to the public, during COVID, through support to small businesses and self-employed, in a case where self-employed individuals were not eligible for unemployment benefit. But the government of Barbados decided that it was important that these people are able to keep their heads above water during this time. And in fact, I dare say that it is guiding the way, the kinds of reforms that the NIS is reviewing at this time. Because I don't think that we can live in a Barbados where people who choose to be self-employed and who choose to chart their own path, if something happens like a pandemic or like a major disaster, that they are not taken care of. So this is a government that has already prioritized small business, has already prioritized entrepreneurship in all the ways that I have just outlined to you, who has borrowed, in fact, to establish a guarantee program through the Central Bank of Barbados, so that any project that seems too risky for a commercial bank, that project will attract a guarantee of up to 80%. And those young people who have ideas that for some reason commercial banks decide are risky because they have their own aversion to a certain level of risk, but that this Barbados Labour Party government established a second guarantee program through the Central Bank of Barbados, so that those commercial banks who are risk averse and shy can have that lending guaranteed up to 80% to those individuals who have ideas that can be groundbreaking for this country.